constraints for teachers. So I wanted to make sure that we've given you as much guidance as possible. But as the program runs, when you need assistance, we're here. You can reach out to us and we'll assist where we can. So, okay, if you want to go back, Richard, to the overview, that would be lovely. So basically, and Richard, feel free to jump in at any point if you want to just, interject here. With your students in your school, what we want to do is put them on a journey in terms of becoming a change-making community, but ultimately give them a tangible goal that they can achieve in one term and then see that. We want them to work as a team. We want them to work in small groups, but we want them to build up an array of skills and be able to demonstrate those skills so that you as the teachers can actually see those skills in action. More often than not, what happens is we talk about, collaboration, group work, teamwork, student voice, student agency, but we're too busy teaching, trying to cover the curriculum. We don't actually get a chance to see it actually happen in front of us and take notes. So the idea with this 10-week program is that we set the children off with certain challenges, certain tasks. We ask them to go away in groups, collaborate, work together in teams, and you as the teacher or as the coordinator or as the bystander or the assistant in the classroom can then look at those students and look what skills are taking place in front of you. So saying, wow, look at Tommy. Look at the way Tommy's leading that group. I never knew he was such an amazing leader. Let's make sure we make a note of that. We're going to use that later on. Or look how, the compromise that Stephanie's showing, she's really negotiating well. So emphasizing those, what they call soft skills or essential skills, but giving you a chance to see them. Okay. So at the very beginning of this, and this rings true with the curriculum, as you know, in terms of social and emotional well-being, we talk about what is change and how is it needed, and we give the students a perspective. What we want to happen in the first instance is allowing the students to understand who they are, their place, their power, their purpose, and what it is for another child of the same age, of the same demographic, but in a different part of the world. So I'm Tommy and I'm 8 years old. What does a Tommy look like in Botswana? What's a Tommy like in Libya? What's a Tommy like in Japan? What's a Tommy like in Massachusetts? Who am I and who are they? So we give them that global perspective so that they can start to understand who they are and how they actually sit in the world around them. Quite often with our students, what happens is they see issues around the world and they seem like a million miles away. And they think, oh my goodness, that's so far away. I can't do that. Those people are very different to me. Actually, what we want to do is inspire them to understand that they are very similar to those people around the world. In fact, almost identical. They just live in a different part of the world. And they have the same problems that we have. They have the same needs that we have. So, the fundamental needs of human beings, we have a big focus on that. And we want the children to understand that they are part of a global community. This is part of the curriculum, as you all know, part of a global community and where I sit in that. So what is my place? What is my purpose? What is my passion? And what can I do about becoming a change in my local community or in the wider world? We want to have some exemplars in there. We want to have some people who have, made changes in the world and taken these, wonderful journeys. And we want to give the students the understanding that they can actually be that too. It's quite often that students don't feel that they have the power to make change. However, we have some wonderful examples. It's people like Malala, or you look at Malala and her story, and we want to give the students a chance to choose those, to investigate them, and to understand where they came from, what they did, how difficult it was, but how they showed determination and perseverance, and they showed culture, and they showed courage and strength, and they got over those hurdles and where they are now. We want to empower the students to feel that they actually want to make a change too. They can actually do it. And here are some people we can look up to look at that. And there's many scaffolds in this curriculum that allow you to branch out. This is not very linear. So you might think, wow, one child might feel really inspired about Malala's story and want to take that on in literacy and go, you know what, I'd love to write a report on her for English. It's, oh my God. Of course. And I've scaffolded that in the curriculum. So it's got all those fractures, all those wonderful tributaries. So you can branch out in the curriculum and reach into maths or history or geography. In week 2, we get into this wonderful moment where the students start to understand that they're actually powerful. They have a voice, they have agency, and they can make a difference. And then we give them a choice as a school, as a community, as a class, however you want to run it in your school, to actually make a difference. And we tell them, you are now going to be a change maker. We're going to do this together. You've got me, you've got the whole school. We're going to make a difference in the world. Now, it might be small, We might just help the homeless people down the bottom of the street to get some sleeping bags, or you might decide you're going to build a chimpanzee rehab center in Tanzania. Now, before what Richard's showing you now is the choices they will have. But before we get to that, what we're actually going to do with your students is allow them to understand what's gone before them. What's happened before? And what does it look like to be motivated? How do you get a community motivated? What problems are you going to face? Because we want them to make realistic choices. We don't want all the students in all the classes going, you know what, yes, we're going to build a rehab center for chimpanzees in Tanzania, knowing full well that it's going to be a flop because it's too big at that moment for your class or your school. So we want them at that point to have some independence in making choices that they think they can actually achieve. Now, we've worked really hard in the background, and we'll continue to do that to make partnerships. For example, we had a meeting with the Jane Goodall Institute this week with their CEO, James, and they've got many projects around the world going on, and he's happy to hand those projects to us. We're happy to pass them on to your students. So they'll be able to see that and go, oh my goodness, we're working for the Jane Goodall Institute. We're working alongside Jane Goodall here. And we'll showcase her to your students. They'll have a chance to understand who she is, what she did, and they'll be more empowered. But then we get to this really important part where they make a choice and they decide as a school or a community, your students have presentations where they say, I think we should take this one on. And students say, I don't think that's true. I think we should do this one. There's a bit of a debate, and that goes straight into speaking and listening, goes into your English curriculum beautifully, where you don't really have to go, today we're going to learn about debating. The debate will just come organically, and that's what we want. Obviously, you as the teachers in the background, as the silent puppeteers, you will be navigating this and helping them along the way. But then they will make a choice, and they will choose a project. That project could be a basketball court in your playground, and it might only be a $2,000 project, or it could be a school in the Himalayas, and that could be a $100,000 project. And at the very end of lesson 2, as your students have presented what they want, and you've had your debate, and the community's had engagement, and they've done data analysis, and there's some graphs, or they've done a chart, or they've done a tally, or whatever it is they've done, that will be the point where you as the school and the administration will have to go, I think actually we need to just silently in the background step in a bit here. And I don't think they're going to pull off the Tanzania Rehab Center, but I think they could actually do and it's good to have amazing goals. We want them to think big, but we want them to actually succeed. So, they'll always have you in the background to make those informed choices. And in week 3, we get to that part where we start to think about the fact that they are going to know the project they're going to take on. And then comes that wonderful moment where we're all on the same page and the whole community are going forward. And we get to understand how they're going to pull this off, what problems they're going to face, and actually what are going to be the avenues of work that are going to allow the students to actually succeed in this. And then we delve into this whole wonderful avenue of understanding what builds a wonderful team and how to actually get together as a community and make things happen. And we've got these wonderful activities where your students will be able to work on small projects in your classroom and understand what is a team, how does it work, who am I as a person. They get to understand what kind of person they are, how they learn, what skills they bring to the table. They get to understand who they are, how special they are. And everyone gets to understand how special each other is and how important it is to have diversity in a team if it's going to be successful. And they get to do these small projects in the classroom about using teams and accomplishing goals. And then we get to that wonderful point where we start to think about what are we going to do about this project we've chosen and how are we actually going to pull that off? And I don't know, Richard, if you want to just interject there and add anything else at that point.
No, I think you've covered it all perfectly, Gav. I don't think I have much to say. We kind of think we just skipped over this one a little bit, but I think around here, the art of building the story. I think that what we need to do is around this point. So just before the teamwork part, I think that's where we really need to encourage them and inspire them that to get someone on their movement, they need to really start to make that emotional connection, and they need to be a storyteller, and they need to inspire, and they need to educate, and they may need to entertain. In the same way that we live in this digital world where social media is everywhere and everyone's coming at us from all these different angles, at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're connecting with brands, we're connecting with organizations, we're connecting with movements based on the story that they're telling. And that's how we get people inspired to make change. So I think that there needs to be like a really strong element of that. And this underpins everything that we do. As teachers, we understand that if we're going to get children to buy into anything that we want to teach them, we need to engage them, we need to inspire them, we need to tell them a story as to why they need to learn it. This translates to, as I can see some principals of some schools in here, and you have to no doubt have conversations with your staff, you know, every other day about this is happening and that's happening, and you need to do this, and when you're going to take this on, and like you need to sell a story as to why this would be worthwhile. So this filters down in all areas of life, and it filters up and sideways and left and right. And these are the things we want to teach kids, because when you get out into the big wide world, like, you know, a great way to have success is to be able to build a story and tell that story and capture the attention and the hearts and the minds of the people. So Gav, I'll throw back over to you.
Yeah. So one of the questions they'll come up with one of the questions is scaffolded into week 2 is, and when they start talking about overcoming hurdles in projects, and one of the questions is, you know, how are you going to pull this off? And one of those things is, how are you going to get the money? Because money is a big player in here. Yes, we can go out and ask for money, but we want agency here. And, you know, there are many ways in which you can raise funds. So actually, we're going to give your school and your students a product, and that product is going to be something that they're going to push out to your community, as you probably already know. That in the first instance, we're going to provide that for them and talk through that product and why that product is easy to sell and how you could sell it, how you could market it, how having a voice, how having, you know, choice and different changes in the way that you choose things will have an impact on the world. From small choices, we see big differences being made. And then we get to that part where they start to go into their actual teams. And this is a really beautiful bit for me. And I've been writing this curriculum myself, and I'm a curriculum writer and a school teacher. And, you know, I was writing the curriculum thinking, oh my God, will be really fun to teach this part. Because at this point, the children know who they are, they know the mission they're on, they know how important each and every one of them is in their class, in their school, in their community, and the skills that they bring. And everyone has equal value in that. And so at this point, we say to the children, look, in order to succeed, we need several teams here in order to pull this off. There's a marketing team, an R&D team, there's going to be a video team, and these teams need to all work together in order for this to actually succeed. And so it's almost like a job description, where the children will see on the board, these are all the teams. Where do you think you fit into one of these teams? And the students say, actually, I think I want to be in the marketing team. I love design. I've always loved design. I think I'm really good at art, so I'd love to be in that team. And they start to find their place. And what we then do is we send them on this mission in order to get this product to market and get it out into the community as much as they possibly can. So your writing and persuasive writing team, they could be writing to the local politicians, submitting letters to the local newspaper, writing to, you know, famous people, change makers, writing to the parents, writing articles for your school newsletter, all these wonderful things that they can be doing in that team, and then actually physically sending them out. So going to the post office and posting all their letters, licking the stamps, sticking them on, researching what is the actual address of the local member for infrastructure or whatever it's going to be. I'm writing to him and researching that, writing it on the envelope and posting it. And when all of your school community are all working in this wonderful parallel approach, over a period of several weeks, they'll start to see that their product that they're starting to push out gets to market. And we will then be responding back to your school with actual data. Like at the end of week 1, this is what happened. This is how many people in your community made a purchase. This is how much have you raised. And this is how close you are to actually succeeding your goal. And because it works over the final 4 weeks of the term, because it works over a multitude of weeks, they start to see the work that they are doing is having an impact in the community, and therefore they're getting closer and closer to their goal, which I think is really fantastic because you can G up that motivation. You can also evaluate what went well last week. Before we start week 6, week 7's lesson, let's talk about what each team did last week. Well, last week we wrote a letter to the local member. Did you get a response? We didn't get a response. How are you going to deal with that? We're going to write them an email. Wonderful. What's the email address? I don't know. How can you find out? And so that whole approach. Now, for those schools also who are going to embark on this over a multitude of years, maybe year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your year 6s might say, you know what, we need 50 posters that are going to go up in the local shops down at the bottom of the hill. But there's only 4 of us. You know what? Why don't we go down to stage 1 and ask the stage ones to write us 50 posters this week, because there's 50 of them. Let's go down there. Let's teach them how to make a really good poster, give them the paper, stay in there, and actually model that and use that community empowerment to get this thing going. And in week 7, let's see how that's going. How many sales have we made? How close are we to reaching our mission? And what we want is your whole community to be embarking on this project together. So not only your students, but the outreach of your students into the parents, into the other cohorts within your school, into the wider community, into local cafes, shops, restaurants, newspapers, wherever it may be, so that they work collectively on this. Because what we want them to do is be able to understand that with their power that they have, quite often they feel powerless. They see these things and they think, I can't do that. I'm just going to ask the parents to come to a bake sale. That's all I've got. Well, actually, you have way more than that. You have way more than a bake sale. There's a multitude of ways you can get any message, whether it's educational equality, gender equality, pollution, climate change, whatever it is. There's 1,000 ways in which you can get your message out there. And this is just scaffolding that for them so they, in term 1, understand, oh my goodness, I actually have a huge voice here. All I need is agency. And we want to give that agency. So in the program, if we don't want to put the onus onto teachers to say, oh, I've got to think of all these ways in which they can get out to the community. We'll put that in place for you. All those options are there. You can then use those options. Or your students might say, Miss, my uncle actually works for so-and-so, and he's got a huge network. Can I ring him? Can I write him a letter? You sure can write a letter to him. Let's get on all of those things. So we want them to have agency, voice, independence, but we also need to scaffold this the first time around because this is going to be new to them, new to you. But as you can probably see, it's going to tick off a lot of the curriculum. And I guess what I want to say is this. If you're going to allocate a certain amount of time to this, let's say your school's saying, we're going to give 1 hour a week, Friday afternoon, we're going to do inquiry, and it's going to be based around Upschool. No problem whatsoever. But I would say this to you, that what I see the success of this in that your students, I hope, will do this. I finished my writing task in English. I've got 20 minutes left. Miss, is it okay if I just make a quick letter to the local politician down the road with my spare time? Because I really want to get going for my project. And we want to see them actually edging into other curriculum spaces. And I think that will happen. And the true success, in my eyes, will be if your students go home and they're working on this at home. Just without you telling them, they're just doing it. That will be the success. And I say that kind of, you might seem whimsical a bit, like, oh yeah, dream on if you think they're going to go home and do this at home. Actually, I do this at my school right now. I'm the school principal of a primary school. And when they have this agency, when they see the change they're about to make, they start doing it at weekends. They start doing it in the evenings. They don't want to put it down. It becomes so popular that they absolutely love it. And hopefully the teachers who are embarking on this journey will also love it too. So that's I'm up to about week 9 in my head now. And then when we get to about week 10, we want to round up and say, this is what we've achieved this term. Let's press the green button. Boom, we're going to build that school in Uganda. We're going to get that basketball net. Here it is. We're going to install it. Look what you did. And then we want to introduce what might happen in term 2. And I guess we'll come to that in a second. Anything from you, Richard?
I'm back now. When I flick screens, I lost you for about 30 seconds. So you may have covered this, but I'll just say it again. This may be overwhelming for a lot of people. They're like, how am I going to learn all of these things? Like this is a brand new idea that I really haven't researched, and I don't really want to spend my whole holidays learning about Malala and Greta Thunberg and don't worry about that. So what we're going to be doing between now, we're already working on it, and week 1 of next year is we're going to be pre-recording every single lesson and scaffolding every single lesson as well. So we'll probably land on sort of 3 levels, a prep to 2, or as Gavin calls it, a stage 1, a prep to 2, a 3 to 6, and then a 7 to 10, because we've got one secondary school on as well. So we'll differentiate it in that way. And literally what you'll be able to do is hit play. You'll be able to hit play within the platform and play the lesson if you don't want to teach it yourself. And we'll be there teaching it, and we'll be inviting guests in as well who have expertise in different areas. So it won't just be Gavin and I doing all of the teaching. We might be talking about storytelling. and then we'll pull in like an amazing storyteller that has a global following online in some type of platform, maybe a social media platform, and I've already got someone in mind. I don't want to reveal it yet because it might not come through, but it's probably likely I'll get him, for example, and he'll talk about how he's built story into his brand and in his movement to share kindness with the world, and we're in some conversations now. So we'll be pulling all of those in, and this will be an ongoing thing. This won't stop, but hopefully between now and next year, when this all starts, we've got a range of voices in there, not just Gavin and I, but at the very least, it's Gavin and I. We'll be able to teach it, and we'll be able to teach it really well. So you do have the option to hit play, as I said, regardless of how old your children are. They'll have a video that they can watch based on these 10 lessons that will be relevant to them and their ability, their age group and their ability. And you might want to do a hybrid. You might want to have a go at teaching some of it, or you might want to teach the whole thing. You might want to watch the video before and say, I got this covered and I can put my own spin on it. And you're more than welcome to do that as well. You can pull the whole thing apart. You don't really have to do anything that we've put together. This is a guide. You can follow it step by step, or you can reinvent the wheel if you so choose. I just wanted to say that. And the other thing I want to...
Sorry, you're reminding me of something there very quickly. So yep. I don't know if any of you know the United Nations Sustainability Goals for the world. When you look at those United Nations Sustainability Goals, number 17 is working collectively to one common goal. As you can see, this immediately ticks that. And depending on the project that your school decides to embark on in the interim, you'll probably tick off another couple of those. And our concept, the idea is for us, is that, and we hope that you stay on this, that if you stayed on this project for a couple of years, within a couple of years, your school community would have ticked all 17 of those goals off. And there are 17 of them, and those 17 sustainability goals have been put together by United Nations to save the planet. So that's, the driver behind this is that we want to make sure that, the United Nations have worked very, very hard to try to get these into the curriculum. They're not easy to get into the curriculum. And this was our driver behind it, that all 17 of these, we want to make sure that in the curriculum that you are going to deliver in your school, that your children get a chance to be exposed to these, but not only exposed, to actually physically make a change in each of these over the space of 2 or 3 years. They're pretty amazing, actually, the goals. Equality for gender equality is one, world hunger. And, I think the important thing to note here, we're not expecting our students to go and solve world hunger overnight. That's not going to happen. But the idea is that if one homeless person who lives under the bridge at the bottom of the street gets one meal, then you've achieved. That's success. You've done a great job. Well done. That's fine. The idea is just to start the ball rolling. So your students go, oh my goodness, I can make a difference. I can actually do this. I can make a difference in the world. And once the ball's rolling, we just get the ball bigger. It's like a dung-eating beetle. They always get the ball of dung bigger because they're always getting bigger and hungrier. We want the students to virtually be a dung-eating beetle and make that ball bigger and bigger every term until we've ticked off all 17 of these and your students feel extremely empowered. And that's the idea behind the whole concept. So I think it's important to know that there's a global mission here as well that the whole world is working towards, and we want your students to be on that mission too.
And that's just what you talked about there, Gavin. Like, that's all written in. We're teaching all of that within the platforms. This is all in the foundation in the first couple of weeks, that, Martin Luther King became Martin Luther King, not overnight. And Nelson Mandela didn't become the Nelson Mandela we know overnight. He spent 30 years in prison before he became the Nelson Mandela we know. So we'll be teaching all of this within the platform and giving the kids the context and show their journey, where they are today and where they got to. And I guess it all comes back to making a start.
But we don't want your kids to go to prison for 30 years, just to be clear about that. That's not part of the lesson plan.
The other thing that I wanted to share is the product. So we've built an e-commerce platform, and I'm sitting here in this warehouse distribution center that I've invested in, or that we've invested in, and then we're building up, and we're importing products and we're partnering with products, and it's all going to sit on an e-commerce platform called kindbox.com. So the way that it will work, and I've already explained this, but I'll re-explain it again because I think that this is an important part as to how part of the fundraising will happen. we will provide some products that kids can sell, and as Gavin alluded to, it's not all about our products. Like if you want to go off and run bake sales and movie nights and do all these things that have nothing to do with us to help raise money for this cause, put on an art show, sell some artwork within your school, whatever you want to do to raise money for this cause, knock yourself out with it. Everything that they'll learn in here in terms of the story and the marketing and the advertising and all of that, it all applies. What we will do, though, is we will provide some products that are tangible products that every family uses every single day. Toilet paper is our first one, and we're also using cleaning products as well. So body wash and hand soap. And we'll just start over time, start plugging in extra products into these platforms. So there's I guess what we're sort of doing is we're doing away with the fundraising model where, and it's called a social enterprise. We're doing away with the fundraising model where, traditionally the Red Cross asks for money, but you get nothing in return. Make a $50 donation and that's the transaction. What we want to do is we want to, obviously, it's called a social enterprise, and inspire kids. The idea of the social enterprise is that you can actually have a business and you can make some money in your own business, but you can also do good at the same time. And teaching kids this is a really important thing. We don't want to teach, we're not telling everyone to go out and be Mother Teresa or anything like that. It's important that the kids understand that they can make money if they want to make money, to think about the business. And we'll showcase all of these incredible businesses across the world that they sell incredible products that do incredible things, but they also do incredible good in the world. Brands like Patagonia and Dr. Bronner's and Who Gives a Crap and all these, there's hundreds of these brands now. Thank You brand, which we would all know down here in Victoria, in Australia, actually. All of these brands, we're going to showcase their stories. So kids that are interested can really go deep diving into the stories if they choose to. And this is where there might be 20 minutes free, Gavin alluded to, at the end of one of their English lessons. And I want to find out a little bit more about how Thank You got their water into all the supermarkets in the country. And then they'll read the story about the guy Daniel Flynn, the guy that set up the Thank You brand. I think he hired a plane and he attached a massive not a poster, but a massive piece of fabric on the back of the plane and says, "Coles, can you see this? We're trying to solve world hunger," and flew it over Melbourne. And it caught the attention of the whole city. And now they're in Coles selling their brand and making a huge dent in world poverty. It's things like that we want to showcase kids, because it's these little sparks, these little ideas that will spark ideas, and they'll see how they can apply that to their own entrepreneurial journey that they're going to be involved in. And that's all the stuff that will be provided. The products on the platform on kindbox.com, the word kind speaks for itself. Every single product sold there is sold for a reason. It's not a packet of chips. It's not a can of Coke. It's not something that's going to do harm in our communities. It is products that are good for the community, good for the environment, more sustainable and more ethical than alternatives. And this is what we want to teach kids as well, that every single dollar they spend, and families, every single dollar they spend is a vote for the world that they want to live in. And that's where their power comes in every single day. Every single time they go to the supermarket, they get to choose the world that they want to live in. So do I buy the box of shapes and it's one big bag of plastic with 20 bags of plastic inside it and 3 shapes in there for my snack? Is that the best option, or is there a better option? And it's not to say there's no right or wrong, because I'm a pretty conscious guy in terms of all my purchases, but I'm terrible at my recycling, and I'm embarrassed to say how bad I'm at recycling. It's not to say anyone's perfect, and we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming to teach kids to think about these things, and if we can get them thinking, then they'll make their own choices. They'll find their own truths. So every product will be sold will be to the best that we possibly can, more sustainable and more ethically produced. So they're learning about these things as well. So that's important to know, because it's an important part of the story as well that they'll be able to share with their community. So, Gavin, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to throw in.
Do you want me to say something quickly about term 2 while we've got everyone here? Because I know everyone's busy. So I'll just so you all know, you're in term 1. You've got the idea of term 1. It sounds great to me, and hopefully it sounds great to you. When you look at term 2, I'm an author, so I write children's books, and I've written children's books for lots of years now. And I recently did a little trial where I got a student in my school. I said, "Would you like to be a published author? Would you like to be the youngest published author in the country?" And she said, "I would." I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to use you as a guinea pig. And we went through this process of her coming up with an idea, brainstorming a character, writing a synopsis, looking about what the front cover of a real book looks like, all that kind of stuff. And basically, over 9 weeks, she wrote, illustrated, published, curated her own children's picture book. And I wanted to do a trial with her to see if it was possible for children of that age to actually go through that. Now, all the teachers in this meeting right now, for sure, have taught English at some point in their time, right? And you teach English, that we're going to write a story. Let's write a story. They write it in their book, and we give it a big tick. And we said, it's a lovely story, well done, draw a picture. And we close their book, and we put it on the shelf, and we say, well done. However, wouldn't it be better if we said, we're going to write a story, and when you have got it right, we're going to publish it. It's going to have a barcode, and it's going to sit on Kindbox, and people can purchase it. And every time someone purchases your book, and your book might be a book about Indigenous culture, you might actually be telling a Dreamtime story for your local Indigenous community. Every time someone purchases your book, some of that money is going to come back to you as a school and help you do whatever you want to do with it, whichever mission you've chosen, but also will go to maybe the Indigenous community down the street to help them sustain their community, help them continue with their community centre, help them get their message out, help them have a voice, whatever it's going to be. It doesn't have to be Indigenous community, obviously, but that would be a great one. That's what we chose here at school. But the idea is in term 2, we want to allow as many students in your school, in your schools, to become published authors. Whether they want to write a short story as a collective book and the whole school writes one short story and the whole thing's published. But the best thing about this is that it's for sale. And it's for sale for all the other schools around the country to purchase. So they say, in all of you, I'm a school principal like many of you are here. You have funds sitting in the pot. You have to buy language books. No problem. Why don't we buy a few that are going to make a difference in the world and get some other students' books on our shelves that tell these amazing stories, but also make a difference? So for term 2, we want to make sure that as many students as possible become published authors. We'll obviously write this very heavily in line with the English curriculum, so that be differentiated across stages, of course. But it will be really empowering for your students and give them a real tangible goal over that 10-week process. Like, why are we bothering to learn about similes? Well, you're learning about similes because you're going to use them in your book, which you're going to publish, and then when it sells, you're going to make a huge difference in the world. They go, okay, now I know why I'm learning about similes. And you also, as teachers, go, now I know why I'm teaching similes, because it's got a real tangible goal at the end of it. And just to put it into context, Canva, which is one of, obviously, we all probably all know Canva. I had an email this week from one of the managers at Canva saying, I just want to talk to you about that book the girl published at your school using Canva. Could we be involved? Can we have a meeting? So on Thursday, me and Richard are having a meeting with some of the executives at Canva. They want to be part of it. They want to have an angle into being change makers too. So we want to build up your students' skill level, not just in English, but also in design, in using tech for a good purpose, not just updating your Insta so you get more likes, to do something real that's going to make a difference. And also you feel achievement over it when you publish your book. And that I've published books, when it arrives in the post in an envelope and they go, oh my God, I'm a published author. I saw it with the girl at my school when she became a published author. And you might think, oh, it's no, we can't pull it off. I tell you, we can. We will help you do that. I promise you now, if we work together on this, every single student in your school from grade 1 to grade 9 could be a published author in 10 weeks' time, and we want to make that happen. So, and we'll keep reinventing the wheel. Each term will be something else coming your way. We'll help you, we'll scaffold it, we'll write a curriculum that goes with it, and we'll support you along the way to make sure that it's doable. And we won't pick anything that we don't think is attainable, because we don't want you to fail, and we don't want your students to fail.
I think that covers everything off that we wanted to say. So in the email, I said, bring your questions, bring your ideas. We're building this with you guys, which is the most exciting part. So as the teachers on the ground there, we want to be in your schools as much as we can, whether it's remotely or on the ground. We'll do a bit of both for sure. But we need your feedback. We need to know what's working, what's not, what could be better. We need to know the things that are working well and capture those stories as well. So like one of the, we want to bring these sort of 8 to 10, however many it finishes up being on this term 1 launch. We want to give your students a platform as well to share their learnings with the students from the other schools. So if I'm a grade 3 student and I've written a brilliant letter to my local member, and the local member came in and got an ad in the local paper, and all of a sudden, like, there's a news crew on the doorstep of my school, we want to know about that so we can interview, like Gavin and I, and maybe one or two of your teachers and a couple of your kids, and talk about that story and turn that into maybe like a 5 to 10 minute piece of content that everyone eventually across the world can watch to see how your kids pulled that off. And that's, I guess, that's what we'll be filling the platform with, is all these beautiful case studies and all these things that have worked really well. So, the kids that really want to get in deeper and be inspired have something where they can keep diving in, and it's completely relevant to the thing they're working on. And I spend not most of my life, but a big part of my life listening to business podcasts and entrepreneurial podcasts and hearing the stories about all these amazing people that have changed the world in a really positive way. And that's the way that I learn. And I think that's the way so many of us learn now. It's hearing a story and then adapting it to our own context. And I think the power of this is that because everyone's kind of on a very similar journey and the context is going to be very similar, it's going to be very translatable for children. So they're going to be able to learn how to write a letter to council or create a video or create a poster. And it's not some abstract idea that's so far removed from what it is they're doing. It's actually what they're doing. It just came from another school. So we want to make sure that we're showcasing all of you guys. And Gavin, you're obviously full-time on this we're full-time on this together next year. And as you may well know, you can kind of see it up here on the screen. Gavin's on, I think he's presenting somewhere in the globe to some educational conference or group of teachers or somewhere, probably a few nights a week, and then doing all the big keynote speeches of all the big conferences. And this is what we're going to be talking about next year in your schools. So, your school will be up in lights as well, which I think could be really exciting.
The reason, the way I see it as an amazing community engagement thing is that we hope that your students will be really engaged and be wanting to do this. I do this in school. That's why I'm on board with Richard, because I've been doing this for many years in my school, and I see how it works. And if we had hundreds of kids doing this, then it would be unbelievable. But similar to that, we want your parents to know that their students are having this kind of engagement at school as well. And also, we can't forget the teachers, the people who are in this meeting right now. There might be some learning along the way where you're like, actually, I don't know how to pull that off. Like, how can I actually do that? Now, we're there. If you want us to come in and sit with your staff and go through week 3, like, how can we make week 3 a bit better? Then we're happy to do that. It's not a problem. So there's professional development along the way, community engagement along the way, and we're happy to support your students if required as well. So we want to support you on a multitude of levels definitely throughout term 1, to make sure that it's right for you, and not extra work, but actually something that you will enjoy doing and your students will be engaged in.
Just on that, obviously I'm a teacher. I taught for 10 years, and this was inspired by my style of teaching. The last couple of years of my teaching, I did a lot of CRT work, and I always kind of wanted to work in, even when I was a teacher, like I wanted to walk into class and hit play on the lesson and then just overview, like facilitate the lesson rather than having to teach the lesson and learn the content and all this sort of thing. And I really wanted something that would slip straight into my folder, so I didn't have to do all the hard work. I could just do the fun stuff, which is facilitating learning for children. That's the stuff that I really love. And I think what we're trying to do is, like, Gavin and I are both teachers, so we kind of understand that it's a busy role, and this was mentioned at the start, but we want to find out how we can make this easier. Like, whatever we've presented now, that's great. Hopefully that works really well, but we want your ideas as to how can this be better for us as teachers. Like, what can we do to make your role easier so you have more time to do the things that you actually want to do? So I'll just throw that out there. Like, this is where we want your feedback, because we can build stuff. If you've seen stuff on other platforms or whatever, like, tell us what works, what could be better, so we can make this better for you guys, and so we can save you time and make your job easier. And look, at the end of the day, like, when I have to learn something new as a teacher, like whatever it happens, as a teacher, I like to be engaged in things that interest me. And we talked about, like, back here, like somewhere in here, we're breaking up into these teams. where does that happen? Around about here. These teams, and there will be people on your staff that are they really love maths, and there's people on your staff that really love literacy and English, and there's people on your staff that are very creative and like doing the advertising and the videos and the digital stuff. My idea, and let's see how this all plays out, but somewhere along the line, if we can get teachers working in the area of this where they're interested in, I think that we've really touched on what we truly want to do. It's not just about kids, it's about teachers truly be engaged in the work as well and getting to do the things that they're most passionate about. So I'd be nowhere near the math stuff. I would be right down here in the digital stuff, and in the posters and the creative ideas and the networking, and that, because that's the thing that just comes a little bit more naturally to me. So we want to make sure that the teachers are engaged and the teachers are learning as well, which is, we can do that. I think we can be happy too. So I've said everything I need to say. I'd love you guys to jump on and share some feedback, ask some questions, and, we'll save the last, hopefully maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Hopefully we've got some questions. So turn your mic on and go for it.
I'm going to stop
sharing. Not all at once.
Richard.
Okay.
Marissa, you've been smiling the whole way through. Any thoughts? You're looking encouraged.
Oh, well, I love how you spoke about it the last time about completing that circle, because I think teachers try very hard to ensure that they are creating life-changing, I suppose, lessons sometimes for children, especially during inquiry. But we never ever seem to get to that full circle where they see all of that hard work and that passion for changing the world for others come to fruition. So I'm hopeful that we do really start seeing the real work, like true life stories that will change people's lives, and that they get to meet those people in some way, shape or form as well. Because if it's not real, why are we doing it? That's my question, is probably even, I know we teach skills, I know we teach dispositions, but really, we're trying to help children become part of this world, to be the change in the world that we want to see.
Yeah. And
that's why I'm excited about this for our staff.
I'll give you a really tangible example of that, a very simple one though. So we were writing letters, persuasive letters. Now that's in everyone's curriculum in every school in this meeting. I know your curriculum's inside out. Persuasive devices using high modality, all those things. And we often teach that, and we go, guys, we're going to learn about modality and getting emotions across in a persuasive letter. And they often write a persuasive letter to the principal to change playtime to be longer, or no uniforms, those kind of things. They never happen. In fact, they probably never make it to the principal. I've done that myself too. I said, we're all going to write to the principal when I was a teacher. He never got to the principal. And the kids, they're not stupid, they're astute. They know that. They're like, this isn't going to the principal. So, they never write with that passion, and they never get a result. Now, lunchtime's never extended, and uniforms are never, they're not banned anymore. So what I said to the kids is, we're going to write to a local politician. You've got to choose your politician. You do your research, choose someone that you want to talk to and you want to tell something to, and we're going to write to them and invite them to school. Now, these kids are only 7. So we scaffolded it for them, and some girls decided they wanted to write to Zali Stegel. Now, I don't know if you know Zali. She's a big hitter up here. She kicked Tony Abbott out of Manly. He'd been here for like 30 years. Everyone up here hates Tony Abbott, and they love Zali, and the girls especially. So these group of 7-year-olds, they wrote a letter to Zali Stegel. And the idea was to get her to come to school. Now, they said, we finished our letters. I said, okay, put them in an envelope. Do you want to check them? I said, I don't want to check them. If they're good letters, she will arrive at school. So they put them in there. They were quite, I don't know why. I said, we'll put them in the envelopes. Let's get her. They all wrote her address. I said, if you don't write her address down clearly, it won't even make it to her office. So your handwriting has got to be really clear. And they were all so carefully, oh my goodness, careful as anything, sticking the stamp on. If you don't lick it really well, it will fall off in the postbox and it won't even get to her office. So they carefully, we all walk to the postbox together, post them in the postbox, and we go back to school. 4 weeks later, Zali Stegel appears at school. She rang me up. I'd like to come to school. I got the letters, said beautiful. She came to school. She sat in the classroom and she came to meet the children. And I said to Zali Stegel, do you know why you're here? And she said, yeah, I'm here because you made the children write to me and you helped them write to me. And so that's why I'm here. I said, that's not true. I said, I asked the children to write to someone they adored and they wanted to talk to. They chose you. And I didn't even look at their letters. I told the children, if the letters were good enough, you would appear. And now, children, your letters were clearly good enough. You all got a grade A. Because, not an actual grade, a virtual grade, because the grade is that she appeared. And she was like, is that true? I said, that is totally true. And that's nothing. That's the most simplest. But the children then decided, one kid immediately after she left said, Gavin, I'm writing a letter to the Queen. And then, he thought he had the power then to make the Queen arrive at school. But that's an important point to make, because immediately a 7-year-old was like, with a piece of paper and a pen, doesn't matter if I spell everything wrong, if this letter's good enough, a famous person of influence will arrive in my school. So, that's the most simple, easiest thing to do. And we can all do that. But the end result has to be, it's not if the teacher liked it, or if your spellings were correct, or if it was written really neatly. It's if your intention and your purpose actually happens, then that you've achieved. And that's the only grade you need. And that's what we need to show our students. And that's what we will show them. So no matter how small the project is or how big, we want to make sure that it's doable. And so when we put those projects on the big shopping list for you to go to, when you go to Upschool and you say to the students, okay, you can choose from these projects. If you've got 10 kids in your tiny little country school and they say, we want to build a Taj Mahal on Mount Everest. It's going to cost $2 million. He's like, we're not going to choose that one because we're not going to attain it. And so we want them to achieve. And so I think that it will be really important that they know the power they have, because that goes forward and goes on throughout the years, and they start to make choices and start to make a difference and start to have a voice. And that's the whole intention behind this thing. So that's a little spiel there that will give you a tangible idea of how powerful I think this thing can be.
Michael Watt, where are you? Turn your mic on and go for it.
Hi, everyone. I was just curious, is there any links to the Australian Indigenous community through this? Any projects, whatnot?
Gavin, I'm pulling up a page, but you start talking.
Yes, of course there will be. So for each and every school, although we will have projects for you to choose from, I've built up this huge network of teachers around the country and around the world, and they will be coming to us and saying, we want to pull these things off. Can you help us? And we'll just be putting all of their projects from all over the country on this Upschool platform. You'll get to choose those. But similarly, let's say you are on Gadigal land, okay, and your local community down the street, you know that your local Indigenous community, you have strong ties with that, or you want to make a connection with that, and you might want to work on a project for them or together so your whole community can help the local Indigenous community, for sure. There's no question about that. At the same time, when it comes to term two really, and I showcased writing books, the idea for term 2 really is to tell Dreamtime stories from your community in your school through the storytelling. And we've got a whole presentation to present. We'll do it later on. But this is about telling stories and etching them in time in term 2, around gathering knowledge from local elders, allowing them to tell stories in your school. Your students illustrate and curate that story. It's then published and becomes a story that can be on every library in every school in the country. And you might think, oh, really, does the story really, will it be as good enough quality to be on everyone's library in every school in the country? Well, I've just published a book with a child. I didn't touch the keyboard, the mouse, anything. She was 7, and it's as good as a book that I would publish myself as a picture book writer. So Canva offers that opportunity for that to happen. So there will be in term 1, for sure, that agency for you to choose. And we'll also provide networks for you to go into the Indigenous community. But similarly, in term 2, it's going to be heavily scaffolded around telling those stories. That was part of the whole term 2's project.
Thanks, Mick. Anyone else want to sort of jump in with something? You can raise your hand or turn your mic on.
Gina, you seem very excited. Have you got anything you'd like to say? A lot of smiling and flailing of arms.
No, it sounds amazing, but this is the first I'm hearing about it, so it is very exciting. I just don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it sounds great. It sounds
before the term is over, Gina. Before this term is finished, you'll all get a program overview. If you're in New South Wales, the outcomes and indicators will be linked to those outcomes. If you're in Victoria, they'll be linked to that. So you'll get a step-by-step. You'll be able to read through this, in your spare time, let's say. I know how it is, but you better read through it and then you'll understand it. But also,
Great.
two things. You have any questions, we're happy to answer them. If you want any changes, we're happy to make them. Number three, if you want to scribble it all out and take it on your own, you go, you know what? They've got Greta Thunberg in here, Martin Luther King, and Maria Montessori. I have actually got another change maker I want to choose instead of those things. You're more than welcome to diversify and make it your own.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And just on that, this is where your feedback will be really helpful. I'll go to you, Mick, in a second. Your feedback will be really helpful in capturing these. Like if you a local change maker, like straight away springs to mind Basher Hooley. Like anyone that follows the footy would know Basher, who's making an amazing impact on sort of Muslim culture and the connection with the Muslim people to the Australian culture. And he's a local sportsman. He's not Martin Luther King or he's not Gandhi, but he's more relatable to any child that follows the footy. So it's like, when you hear these, this is what we want to know about, because we don't have all the answers, but you guys will know stuff that we don't. So please share that with us. And when we hear something like that, we'll go away and we'll create something that everyone can share in as well. So this is where, we want to work with you guys to hear, these different stories around the place, these different ideas that you have. So we can just go away and build it for you. Use us as a resource to leverage off. Mick, go for it. Sorry, your mic's off, Mick. Go. Yep.
Thanks, me again. Sorry, I just the RE. Yeah, so we're a Catholic school at St. Paul's. I know there's other Catholic schools on here as well as state schools. It would be really helpful. There's an RE curriculum framework in Melbourne, and maybe I don't know whether this is the job of digital schools or if the Catholic schools who are on here were interested in forming little working groups on how the RE curriculum framework is integrated into this work, that would be really helpful. It's definitely a focus of ours moving forward for next year, how to articulate that really strongly. So, just put it out there as well that if, I wouldn't expect all the schools. I mean, if you know a Catholic school, you wouldn't, worry about it too much. But a lot of our RE curriculum framework now is quite open-ended, and I'm sure a lot of that would fit alongside this stuff, especially Catholic social teaching.
Well, what we'll do, Michael, is we'll send you an open-ended document where you can just adapt it to make it fit how you wish. There might be gaps in your curriculum. You think, how are we going to teach that in term one? And you'll hopefully find that this might fill some of those gaps, maybe in your religious studies for sure, or your RE curriculum. There's a lot in here about approaching the community and being a global player and doing your part and showing empathy and compassion and love and kindness. And I know that rings true in the RE curriculum too. So we'll send it through, and if schools want to get to their heads together and do that, then that would be obviously amazing.
We'd be very happy to host something like that. Or
we'll definitely do that, Mick. Let's keep talking about that. But if you want to send up maybe your RE leader and the other Catholic schools, because we've got a few of them in here. Send your RE leaders or whoever's best to be involved, and we'll sit down with you and we'll work it out, and we'll do it for you, with you / for you, and then do it to the point where it's good enough to put in your document and run with, and then we can build the bones or the foundation, and then you can adapt it from there. So let's connect on that offline. And any other school that is in, I can see a few heads nodding, so I can see you guys must be from the Catholic schools. Let's get together and let's build that. Raise your hand, anyone, or turn your mic on. Does anyone else have any comments or feedback or questions?
I've got a little one that might get the teachers' ears pricked up. I've built a lot of the reason we're here is the reason I'm here with Rich is over the last several years I've been building schools in the Himalayas as a spare time, kind of in the school holidays. Just build a school in the Himalayas or a library, and I built many now. And I've a couple of years ago, my community, we all did this together. We embarked on a learning journey like this. We raised funds, we collected items, and I went to Nepal and built a school. But one term, I took the teachers with me. So I took the teachers. I said, look, you've helped do this. You're coming. and we're off to Nepal. And they were like, what? I said, yep, we're going into school holidays. We're going to go see it. So for anybody out there, for teachers who are out there, and you want to actually later on, when COVID is over, obviously, and this new Omicron has gone away, whatever it is, then, there's an opportunity for you to pull off these big projects in the Himalayas or in India or wherever it is. And actually, we can go there. We can scaffold you to actually go there, especially some high schools out there. You can actually take your year 9s, your year 10s into the Himalayas and go and visit the school that you've actually built, which I think would be amazing somewhere down the track. So, there's also that opportunity as a long game to do that. So, and we'll help you to put that in place. Not a problem. So, Jack, you might want to go over to, Carvery near Mount Everest and look at a school that you built with your school community. I'm more than happy to go with you. This part is my second home in the Himalayas. So, more than happy to make that happen.
Who's up for a road trip to the Himalayas?
Yeah, we're all go. No problem.
Come on, let's do it.
And
your plaque built by the team at St. Bridget's in Gisborne or St. Bridget's in Greythorn. We'll make sure your plaque's on the front of that school forever and a day. And maybe when your kids are 25 and traveling the world, they can drop into the outer skirts of Nepal and see the school that they built all those years ago.
Not only that, we want to make sure that you have a partner school or a sister school over in some other side of the country or the world that you can support continuously. You might want to send books over there or keep a partnership or have a pen pal or do lessons. I know that when we did remote learning here at school for those 15 weeks, I know that Melbourne was way worse. You had a way longer stint than we did in New South Wales. We were doing lessons, but to our students, what we said was, we've taught you this concept. We now want you to teach it to a school in the Himalayas. So we tuned them into a school, and I had some 10-year-olds on Zoom teaching a class of students in the Himalayas about volcanoes. They were like, hello, everybody. My name's so-and-so, and I'm going to teach you about volcanoes. And they were like, oh, my God, I can use technology for an amazing reason here. And we want to do that, too. So there's all these opportunities, the parallels, multifaceted approach to be able to do this. And just the image Richard's showing is the girl in the school who actually published the book. And that was a proud moment. It was only a few weeks ago. I only pulled it off a few weeks ago, and now I know she can do it. So I know that all of you guys can do it too. So that's exciting for term 2. And also, any teachers out there, you might think, I've always wanted to write a children's book. Like Lorena, you might think, I've always wanted to write a children's book. Well, you can write one too. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Model the behavior you wish to view. You say to the kids, you know what? You're going to write a children's book. So am I. We're going to do this together. I'm doing the front cover in week 1. So are you. I'm doing the blurb in week 2. So are you. I'm going to illustrate mine in week 3, 4, 5. So are you. They're all like, let's do that. It'd be amazing.
Is Paul there? Paul Lowe. Maybe he could turn his mic on and say something. He's been heckling me through text message for the whole meeting. So throw it over to him, see what he's got. And if he's left, he's been exposed.
Yeah, he's gone.
Michael Putty? No, he's gone, I think. You're welcome to jump off at any time. We'll just stay here and chat away for anyone that wants to just keep chatting. I think that sounds like everything. Turn your mic on, of course, if you want to say something, or raise your hand. And thank you for joining us, everyone. And, we're really excited about term 1 next year and beyond.
Me too. And we'll send this out to you. And then if you have any questions when you receive the document, let us know. We can change, we can adapt and make it work for you guys. You might all have different cohorts, different schools, but we'll be here throughout the holidays. If you need anything to any school leaders or any teachers, we'll be accessible to assist you. So thanks for coming, everyone. It's been lovely to meet you all.
Cool.
And Jack, I want to see you in the Himalayas, buddy. You look like a climber, so we'll be getting you up there straight away. Yeah.
See you there.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for coming.
Richard or Gav, I did just have one thing quickly.
Okay.
It's Justin.
Hey, Justin.
I did have to step out for a couple of minutes, so you might have covered it already. But did you go over the kind box at all?
The actual physical kind box.
Yeah.
We didn't. No, we didn't. We can talk about that now. There's a few people left. So one of the things that will happen, and I've put it out there, and that's in that kind box document that if anyone's had the forwarded emails, like if it's been forwarded to you, then you would have seen the kind box document. That's the physical sort of shipping container style document where kids can be retailing from within their school. Where we're sort of working out how we're going to put that in and when, but we're definitely open to a school that wants to say, let's get going with that straight away. We can have one for your school within a month. And if you want to start retailing from within your school, absolutely. What we're trying to do, the goal is to make this something that is free for the schools, the actual kind box. Like, that's what we're strategizing. Like, how can we make this thing that accessible to all schools, and how can we make it for free? So that's some strategy stuff that we're doing, because we would love not to charge schools for this sort of thing. There's some money in there where because it will save a lot on postage. So if parents are picking up like click and collect, we don't have to pay that Australia Post fee. So there is the opportunity to get the money back. So if it's something that, Justin, I know that we've chatted about this because you've got your retail thing, and just for the last couple of people in the, do you mind if I share a little bit about your school, Justin?
No.
Only a couple of people left, but Justin's school is the Emerson School down in Dandenong, and it's got some vulnerable children. Is that the right word, Justin?
It's a special school, so mild intellectual disabilities.
Yeah. So it's prep to 12. It's an amazing school, incredibly led, and a really, really inspiring school. And we had to get these guys involved if we could somehow. And I know that you're seeing whether it can work, Justin, still, and that's okay. If we can get your kids practicing retail skills, merchandising, basic stock taking, transacting, having a credit card machine in a little pop-up shop, these converted shipping containers, then we would love that. If a school wants to say, yep, that's for us now, we could definitely make that work. There would be a cost to begin with. It's probably about 20 grand. That's what it is at the moment. We're seeing if we can make it. We're seeing somehow down the track we can make that for free, but we're not at that point yet where we can fund it. Like if you've got 20 grand in the kit and you wanted to get going with that straight away and do all of this, out of your own site as a combination of our warehouse here, you're more than welcome to talk to us, and we'll make that happen for you.
Okay. Sure.
Cool. Well, that seems as though there's only a couple of people left. So anyone got any?
Richard, can I ask?
Sure.
Paul was a bit slow getting onto all of this, and
that doesn't surprise me.
And we missed that initial meeting stuff with you guys. So this is the first I've heard, other than reading the kind box stuff. Yeah. Do I need to organise another meeting with you to? You can. Yeah, is that possible?
Yeah, we can do a one-on-one with you and your team, your leadership team, or your whole staff, but your leadership team. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Would you want to do that sort of early next year, or do you want to try and get it done this year, or what would be best?
Well, this is rolling out from term 1 next year. Yeah. So it will also you'll be able to jump on in term 2 next year, but I would imagine that you're planning your curriculum now for next year. Yes. So if you're wanting to do it next year, you probably need to be having the meeting now-ish. Okay. If you wanted to incorporate it somehow into
Let's
next
do
year.
that ASAP, Emma, so that you've got more time to get your head around it.
Yeah. No, it's just getting onto Paul and seeing what we can do and when we can do, and that sort of thing. So
you're only a week behind everyone else, so you're not too late. It's fine.
Okay. No, all good. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, guys. That's great.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma.
Thanks, Emma. Take care.
You too.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Any other? Jan and Justin, you're our final two.
All right. No, I'm all good. Thanks, guys.
You're good. Cool. Jan, did you have anything? Your mic's off, and we can't see you, but you're welcome to bump out whenever you're done, or you can jump in. I wonder if Jan's there.
Jan's gone.
Maybe she's gone. Oh, there she goes. All right.